Thank you so much. And I love this theme of accessibility threading through our crowdsourcing. Cristina.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes? Okay. I'm just waiting for the presentation to go up. In the meantime, I just wanted to start introducing myself in terms of my, here it is, of my research. I am a PhD student, and I am doing a collaborative PhD at the University of Exeter and the Tate Galleries in London about the many ways museums have historically tapped into the relationship between art and place to foster their audience's engagement with the collection. And in particular, I'm investigating the role technology has played in supporting this practice. Today I would like to introduce you to some of my initial considerations about my main case study, a crowdsourcing application called Art Maps, developed by Tate, and tell you a bit about a community workshop that we ran last year over 3 sessions. So, to tell you a bit more about Art Maps, as I said, Art Maps is a crowdsourcing application, is web-based and optimized for mobile use, and it has been developed by Tate over 2 years as a research project in collaboration with the Horizon Digital Economy Research Institute, which comprises academics from computer science in Nottingham University and in performance and new media in Exeter University. The idea for Art Maps actually came about a few years ago when Tate was digitizing their collection and realized that over 1/3 of the 70,000 artworks in the collection had been indexed with some kind of geographical data. And when in 2012, the opportunity, thanks to funding from the Research Councils UK, came about, they started, as I said, with Horizon to develop a novel way to both crowdsource more information to complete the information they already had and make it more precise. But also they wanted to foster their audience's engagement and you know, in a way attract new audiences. And at the same time understand the motivation that people had to contribute to the crowdsourcing effort and the nature of their experience and of course the potential for mobile learning at Tate. So to get to the practical aspect, Art Maps is a very simple WordPress application. It's based on a Google Maps API on which the whole of Tate collection has been marked, as you see from the red pins, at very different levels of detail. So some artworks are down to street number, but others are more generally on a city, even a region, perhaps a continent sometimes. So you see there is need for more precise information. And yes, the map can be browsed or searched with the search box that you can see on the top right corner, either by location or by keyword. And this actually connects to the Tate, the main database, which you can also find on the Tate website. And this brings up a list of artworks, or you can just tap one of the pins that you can find on the map. Just a couple of words about the other buttons on the top of the, sorry, this is probably very loud. On top of the map, there is a login button where the C for my name is. And you can obviously, as you would for a Google map, change the settings of the map to satellite or hybrid. And on the left-hand side, the what's new is a section that brings up the most recent comments and also regular challenges taught by the Tate curators. And I should say Tate is actually involved, let's say, from 3 different departments: the learning, the online, and the research department. So there is a wealth of knowledge there, which is again bringing these challenges to the Art Maps website. And obviously the About page, which is about the research project and the application, more practical aspects. So as I said, went up in one of the pins, a list of artworks would come up, and I went for Florence from Bello Sguardo as an example. And when you tap there, you enter the relevant artwork page. At that point, you have a reproduction of the artwork that, copyright permitting, can be enlarged, and a few basic informations about the artwork and a link to the website, the Tate website, and also a smaller version of the map where you can see the red pin on the right is the Tate suggestion for this location, for this artwork. Although I don't know much about Florence, I found there is a hill called Bello Sguardo, and it felt very right to place the pin there instead. So as you see, the user at this point can either support Tate's suggestion or just suggest a different location ex novo. And in this case, if you decide to do so, you can either explain the reasons why you have decided for that specific location, choosing one of the motivations from a drop-down menu, and the range there is from this is where the artist was, to this is the subject of the artwork, or it inspired the artwork, or even it was performed here, because you imagine in 70,000 artworks, there is quite a lot of variety in terms of mediums, etc. Or you can decide to link your location suggestion to an open comment, which would appear on the right sidebar. And this is what we hope will give us a kind of depth in understanding the motivations that people are, tapping into to decide for one location rather than another. As this has been a research project, since the very beginning we started working with different community groups, bringing them the ideas behind the application and the application of various stages of the development, and we brought back their feedback to the drawing board, if you want, and tried to shape the application according to their comments. We work with technology literate adults, with families, teenage students, elderly people, and the case study I would like to talk to you about today with migrant women from non-European countries. This is through the Migrants Resource Centre in London. So, as I said, we had 3 sessions in between November and December last year. There was a group of 4 to 6 people, and the ladies were from India and African and Latin American countries. They, on average, had been in London just over a year, and we used art maps to facilitate them in exploring the new area they were living in. Although these workshops were facilitated, in a way, the prompts that we gave to this group are similar to what you could find in the What's New section. So we are using this as wishful thinking, if you want, hoping that we will get the same amount of interaction and contribution from our online users. We looked at various artworks from the Tate collection, all localized in the Westminster area around Tate Britain, and asked the group of people of migrant women to actually find the location and start reflecting on the changes that had historically happened from the moment the artist was there painting that subject to present days. We use the concept of landmark to kind of, let's say, as a fil rouge between the workshops, and I have to say, it's actually cut. It should be a bit closer. But you can imagine there is another bit of bridge over there. And this is an artwork by Samuel Scott. It's dated 1750, and the bridge that our group found, the Westminster Bridge in contemporary days, it's actually a totally different bridge. There is not a brick that is the same, but the group thought it is still a landmark. And so they started discussing on the fact that there are different aspects of a place that turns it into a landmark, and some of these actually don't depend on the materials or the shape. They are actually related to the function and the location of this place or this building or the bridge. And one of the participants contributed a personal experience. She is from Caracas, and she said that in Caracas she had a manta in El Ávila which helped her orientate, and that was her landmark. And when she moved to London, she changed the manta for the Shard, Renzo Piano skyscraper, because it's in central London and it helps her to orientate. Another interesting discussion that came about was in fact about time rather than space. Because we were using figurative artworks, we had the chance to talk about some historical facts about certain places and the people who lived there. And someone in the group argued that for Turner, who painted the watercolor on the right, it was probably a mark in time to see the new Houses of Parliament after they burned down. And the same, a participant was adding to it, saying that Westminster and the bridge in particular are for her time marks, if you want, because it's where she spent the first time in London, the first day in London. So every time she passes by, she thinks of that moment, probably very frightening. In general, we noticed how all the participants, and ourselves as well, looked up and around much more than what you would usually do, probably for safety reasons, in a city like London. And we found interesting things that we had never seen before, like this funny statue on Noble House, just off Horseferry Road. If you ever happen to be there and you have any idea what it means, what it does over there, let me know. And yes, and then we went back to Tate Britain. There is a beautiful new digital studio, and there we asked all the participants to look back at their hometowns and countries of origins to see if they could find artworks in the Tate collection that related to that. I have to say, not all of them found something of interest, possibly highlighting the fact that Tate audiences are more diverse than Tate collection. But I think they are working on that. The people who actually did find something showed us how they could use their personal experiences and cultural knowledge to interpret the artworks they were encountering for the first time. And again, the participant from Caracas used a personal memory. Her mother used to work at the Galleria Nacional de Arte in Caracas, and she decided then to place the abstract artwork by Jesus Rafael Soto, that you can see on the right, just on top of the museum, because this is something that she could relate to. Similarly, another participant from India decided to work on the Anish Kapoor artwork, and because of the color of the powder that Anish Kapoor used for the artwork, she decided to place the pin on Patan, which I understand is a town in India which is very famous for the red dye that is used for saris, so she decided to put it there. So just to draw my discourse to a closure, a crowdsourcing application like ArtMaps brings the collection outside the museum and in a more neutral space, if you want, where communities are possibly empowered to use their own personal experiences and cultural knowledge in interpreting artworks. At the same time, the artworks become, if you want, a good excuse to look afresh at your environment, and we hope that strengthen actually the relationship, the mutual relationship between the museum and the city and the communities which it is embedded in. And what else? Yes, of course, if this happens, the museum becomes more relevant to the communities, and this is probably the trigger that brings them to contribute to the crowdsourcing effort. And we launched the art map application on the 17th of February, so we are literally talking about 2 days ago. And so it's very early days to say, but we are hoping that art maps users will become Tate visitors whenever possible. As you know, Tate collection is international. I've spoken about London because this is where we started. But in preparing for this conference, I also looked up Florence. And there are, searching the database, 457, I think, entries about Florence. Although when you search Florence as a place, you can only find 135 placed on the city, and in fact not very precisely, because most of them are around the corner on Palazzo Vecchio, because it's probably the city center, so they are very vaguely placed in Florence. So I would invite you, and it's not very visible, it's a sketch of the courtyard of Palazzo Vecchio made by Turner in 1819. So when you pass through, you can just imagine to see Turner on a corner. He has been everywhere in Italy, so just please look up your city if you are Italian or anywhere in the world. You know, odds are that Turner has been there at some point. And yes, I just chose a few images from the collection. You see Piazza della Signoria, and just around the corner, Palazzo Uguccione, or the bridges. This is Ponte della Carraia, or just the people of Florence, and the feelings that Florence might arise. So I invite you to just log in at artmaps.tate.org.uk and you know, help us with the crowdsourcing and also sharing your thoughts and comments. If you feel more adventurous, just look up some more contemporary works. I've chosen Newman and Tom Phillips because they illustrated the Divine Comedy, and I think if you have been at school in Italy, you've probably done 3-4 years about this, so you might actually find something to relate to, even a personal memory like you hated your literature teacher or something like that. That would be fine. As I said, this is a very young project. There is a blog that you can follow on the Tate website, and the address is there, and obviously the Art Maps website as well, and up there are my details, so if you have a question, well, even today or throughout the conference or later on, just please email me. Thank you.